Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer. I've been washing bottles today, as you can probably see. And while I was washing bottles, I was thinking about my weekend in Salt Lake City. You know, home brewing has been legal in Utah for only the past couple years. And I went to Salt Lake City to join in at the Beehive Brew-Off. This is the second annual Beehive Brew-Off home brewing competition where homebrewers gather with professional brewers to judge beers, give out medals, and have lots of fun. So while I was there, I shot some interviews, took some footage, and here you go.
These guidelines are the guidelines that these homebrewers brewed these entries to, and the guidelines they looked at in deciding which category to enter their beer in, so it's important to... My name is Mike Johnson. I'm president of the local homebrew club here in Salt Lake City, and also acting as the judge director for this competition. Jamie Burnham from the Beer Nut Homebrew Shop is the organizer of the event. And this is the Beehive Brew-Off homebrew competition, second annual here in Salt Lake City. We had a change in the law a couple of years ago, legalizing home brewing, and we had our first competition last year here at the Bayou, where we are now. And got a lot of entries last year, about double what we expected, around 300. We thought maybe about 150 based on what we were told by other people who had first-time competitions. This year we've got even more, about 350 entries. We've got about 35 judges helping us out today, and probably almost half of those are professional brewers from the various breweries here in Utah. We've gotten a lot of help from the professional brewers for helping out with judging, which is really nice, because the home brewers really like to get that feedback from the pros, comments on their beer, how they might improve their beer, that sort of thing. And then we also have a lot of experienced home brewers who are acting as judges too.
Adam, Josh, Jones, and Dusty, you guys are set, and you have your stickers. Everything's good, right?
We have judged the beers according to the BJCP AHA, the American Homebrew Association style guidelines. So we get this flood of entries, and every style you can imagine, pale ales and stouts and Belgian strong ales and sour beers and things of that nature. And so as they come in, they're divided into these various categories, and we'll take that group of judges that we have and kind of assign panels of judges to judge each of those entries by category. If there are a couple categories that where there are only a few entries, we might combine them, but generally each category has its own first, second, and third place awarded.
No, don't use them at all.
So we have less than we thought.
Well, those guidelines I referred to, the AHA, BJCP guidelines, not only do they lay out what the various styles are, but it goes through and discusses, what's the appropriate sort of aroma and flavor and color and body and that sort of thing for each style. And so, as the judges are scoring these beers, they'll be judging them according to those guidelines, how those beers match up against those guidelines. So that's kind of the measuring stick for determining, first, second, and third place. I just participated in a panel where we had one beer that still finished in the top three, but I think if it had been entered in a different category, it may well have placed first. So part of the job of the home brewer is to brew for whatever category they're shooting for, but in the end, to sample that beer and decide which category does it really fit the best. Because you could have a really excellent example of a certain type of a beer, but if it's entered into the wrong category, doesn't have the appropriate color and flavor and aroma, it may well be the best American pale ale you've ever had, but it's not a very good stout, so it's not going to score well. So yeah, the appropriateness of each entry to the category that it was entered into is a really big part of the scoring.
Douglas, what are you judging?
We are doing saisons and Belgian pales and beer de gardes.
What do you feel about that?
Love it. Awesome category, especially after a morning of Russian Imperial stouts. I'm feeling no pain.
It is a lot of work. It does sound like you'd just sort of be slugging back a lot of beer and kind of having a good time. But, you have to be real deliberate and careful about it. Carefully considering the aroma before you taste it. Looking at the color and the clarity and the head retention and all of these sorts of things. And then as you taste it, yeah, you've really got to concentrate and kind of be deliberate and try to pick out the different, elements that are there and decide whether those are appropriate for the style. So it is a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun too, because you get to sit with professional brewers and kind of discuss the entries, and so it's a really interesting process.
My name's Jennifer Talley. I'm the brewmaster of Squatters Pub Brewery in Salt Lake City, Utah. I felt it was incredibly important to involve myself in judging for the Utah Homebrewers Competition because it's supporting all the people that love and drink our beer, and also to give back. I was a homebrewer myself for several years before I became a professional brewer, and it's supporting your local community, your local brewers, and who support our industry all the time. And I mean, that's what craft brewing is all about, is brewing local beer for your local people. So yeah, I really enjoyed myself today and was really happy to be invited.
Come and visit us on the web. At basicbrewing.com, you can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Introduction to Extract Home Brewing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and our latest edition, Introduction to Wine Kits. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to james@basicbrewing.com, steve@basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.
Did you flash the game sign?
No, I could though.